John Worthington is a serial entrepreneur. His newest venture is Sircles. It is a company disrupting the traditional review space. They were able to raise a good amount of money using a novel crowdfunding approach. Welcome to the show, John.
All right, George, thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us a little about your personal lives, more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Sure. Personally, I've just always been driven to try new things, experiment, be bold. Never really had a job beyond delivering pizzas in college. I always kind of wanted to be my own boss. And of course, everyone loves that idea. It's just about 10,000 times harder said than done. So I tried different things. Started in real estate actually, which is kind of being your own boss. Essentially you have to do all your own marketing and generate your leads, handle them from start to finish. You don't get paid until you're done closing the transaction. So it's a real sink or swim type of industry. And I did well in that early 2000s when things were booming. It was almost too easy at that time. But I'll tell you what, it was a little unfulfilling. I felt like I was just kind of moving transactions around, and I was pretty much primarily representing sellers, which is great financially because especially when market's booming, once you get a listing, you have 20 agents writing offers. And so the game is just get as many listings as you can and just have a team big enough to service everybody. And it's just churning through transactions, which is great financially, but it wasn't super rewarding. And I got a little burned out on it. Started seeing the writing on the wall too, felt like real estate market's going to plunge at some point. And a friend of mine from college helped me out with a computer issue I had. And I was like, I'm probably not the only person that's had this type of problem. So we decided to start a company. I did a little bit of marketing for it, and he's really good with computers. I'm good with marketing. So we started a computer repair business that grew into like 12 locations, and that kind of led to this latest endeavor where we created an app that's all about sharing recommendations versus, as you mentioned, the review sites like a Yelp or Google reviews. Yelp especially, they're kind of known in the industry as being a bully, and they're not really there to support businesses. They say it, but it's kind of a fact that they I have a lot of evidence. Let's just put it that way. It's kind of a racket. Every small business knows it. We felt like there's got to be a better way. And my friend Todd, who had started our computer repair business with, suggested, why isn't there a place where we can go to see our friends' recommendations? Well, yeah, that's a good point. What is that site or app or whatever? Name one. Can't. But it's so obvious. Like I trust my friends' recommendations, whether it's a movie or a show or a dentist or whatever. I'm interested. What's a good restaurant downtown? I want to get some sushi or whatever the case may be. I trust my friend's recommendations. I don't have to read really bad reviews because he's not going to tell me three sushi places he hates. So we thought, wow, there's a huge opening here. Not to mention, there's a villain in the space, which is Yelp. So why not just kind of go up against them? And that's what led us into doing this crowdfunding that totally took off. It was really incredible, the community support and everything that's gone into it. So here we are. Excuse me, here we are.
Well, everything you said certainly resonates with me. Um, so, what was it about Yelp that you think caused so many people to get involved? I feel like early on, even I would go in and throw stuff in. This was 15 years ago, probably. But then I got tired of it. It seemed like it was sort of BS. But a lot of people were doing it. How do you attribute or explain or help people understand why human beings are drawn to that kind of thing?
Well, Yelp has a pretty good strategy. Once you're on the site, you can't get off. Yeah, and good luck getting any kind of review removed, even if you can prove undeniably this is a competitor, this is an ex-employee, whatever the case may be, it does not make a difference to them. And they're really pay to play. So they force you in a way. We have 12 locations and thousands of reviews by now. We stopped paying them a couple years ago. And then overnight, they filtered hundreds of five-star reviews, quote, filtered. So they disappeared, which took our average down literally overnight. And so, we're forced, we still pay them. So we're forced to pay them, and magically the reviews start coming back. So that's the kind of thing they do. But, you don't really have a choice. They show up pretty high in Google search results. and they're like kind of the biggest game. Google reviews also a big game. Um, they're a little bit more lenient, but nevertheless, reviews are still from strangers. You can't trust them. You can't really know the source. Are they real? And so nothing's more valuable than a word of mouth recommendation. Every business strives for that. So we figured, we can help out small businesses and create a company that falls into this wide opening that was left for us. Not to mention, we ended up being very social because we called it Sircles. Um, it makes sense. I'm like, yeah, I trust our circle of friends. We spell it a little different. It's with an S, Sircles. And we got circles.com a few years back. And I figured, we trust our circle of friends. We we can post our recommendations to each other, and we don't have to worry about reading this negative stuff. Not to mention social in general. Facebook, Twitter, these platforms, they promised community, they promised all these good vibes, but they really fell short over the years. And obviously, it's really about the money at the end of the day for them, money, money, money. So they're again, huge opening for a platform where, because we're just recommendations, we're strictly positive. There's no reviews, so there's nothing negative. So I recommend something that's positive. And so we built it very intentionally to stay positive, which has been tremendous for our community. Obviously, it's refreshing. They love that. They want to see us succeed. So we've evolved from just taking on Yelp to really taking on social media in general. And our mantra is now, why don't we be the next Facebook?
I love it. So, and everything you talked about makes sense to me. I don't know who is actually going on and leaving Yelp reviews these days. Maybe there's still a lot of people.
It's usually
How,
when they're mad.
okay, right, okay. Yeah, it's the only time I could see myself if I was really just pissed about
Right.
something and I feel a sense of injustice and I'm going to go stick it to these people. I'm going to do it on the internet.
Mhm.
Um, so how do you then, what is the term? How do you drive engagement? How do you get people to want to keep coming back?
Well, we have a few strategies. We've been building our community based on crowdfunding, which is community based in general. So obviously, our investors are going to be our most loyal users. So you got to start somewhere. Rome wasn't built in a day. We started our first crowdfunding campaign. We raised $1 million in 6 days, which is, I think, a record. And that was back then, the limit was $1 million. So we had to basically shut it down. We were way oversubscribed by 600,000, I think. And so we knew, okay, this has really got legs. And that's a great start with our community. The app was a far cry from what it is today. We're competing with some of the best companies in the world. So doing it step by step, the next crowdfunding campaign, I think a year or so later, raised another $1 million, hit some more milestones, improved on the app, grew our community, and then did another campaign and we raised another $2.5 million. And because the limit had gone up finally. So we were able to go past the 1 million. And that's helped a lot because, of course, our investors are super loyal and then they want to tell their friends, they want to see their investments succeed. And so building community is really the name of the game. And you do that through trust, you do that through transparency. And we do that often. We're updating our customers, our users all the time through our WeFunder platform. And we actually show our entire team working on a daily basis, which is super unprecedented. We have It's not live because we have to blur code and stuff like that, but we post it every day with like a 1 or 2 week lag. So anybody can see what we're doing. We're there every day. We got a big team. They're super dedicated. And I think that transparency goes a really long way to building that community and growing platform.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. And we do want to support things that we, in a way, help to create. And these days, if you can fund a business, you feel like you have a very small part of that and want to see it continue to be successful. And I'm still, so how often are people coming on and making recommendations? How often does that happen? Are you asking them to do it? How do you keep them coming back?
Right. And that is the greatest challenge. That's a great question because when you're developing an app, the hardest thing to overcome is what's called the cold start. And every app faces this cold start because the consumer's attention span is very short. You have approximately 45 seconds to hook them and retain them. Give them a reason, excuse me, to find value and come back or recommend you to a friend. That's hard to do in 45 seconds, but that's all you get. And the first couple years of this was really just developing the app itself. The engineering is super complicated. We're like a feed app, like a Facebook. We're also like a map-based app, like a Google Maps. We're also a profile-based app, like other social apps. So, and there's chat and everything else. So it's all these things that have to be on par with some of those greatest companies ever. And then on top of that, overcome the cold start, which is super, super challenging. Um, and getting them to add a favorite is essentially an investment. And getting them to make that investment is what we've been working on passionately for the last 6 months or so, tweaking notifications and that first impression, asking them, saying like, hey, your friends want to see your favorites, and then show me how. And we kind of guide them through and why favoriting is important. Your favorites are your recommendations. And it's easy to do it once you know how to do it. You just tap a heart on a profile, and it basically fills everything in for you, and you're done. So that part of it is where we've been focusing, and it's been working. We've been seeing the numbers grow tremendously. Just in the last few months, it's really taking off.
I don't know that I ever heard that term cold start, but it certainly does make sense. So something motivated me to come to the place, and then I've got the clock starts at 45 for me to be moved, excited, surprised, whatever it might be.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's unforgiving. If you don't get the user at that time, chances are you probably aren't going to. Maybe if you have a good trigger the next day or later that day, you might be able to bring them back in, but they have to find that value and that reason, like called the aha moment. Like, aha, I get why I need this app.
And is there certain areas, are there certain areas that you're favoriting? Is it my favorite taco truck, my favorite movie theater?
Yeah, we have a split about 50-50 towards all like our entertainment categories, which would be like movies, shows, books, podcasts, games, and then places, which would be small businesses and hotels. It could even be beaches, parks, things like that. It's about 60-40. Um, and that's usually not something people do first step. We have been finding our real sauce is coming through that community, having them join into some type of group chat that we've already established. So whether it be like a Sacramento Kings, we're based in Sacramento. So Sacramento Kings NBA group chat or MLB group chat or a what's streaming group chat, what's streaming on Netflix kind of thing. And then having that little community, people can see like, oh, people are talking and sharing ideas in here. So breaking the ice there has been for us looking like that's the path.
Which makes a ton of sense. Okay, I'm interested in finding out some new shows on Netflix instead of just spending 25 minutes trying to scroll through and just getting frustrated and turning it off. So I can see value there. And if you're a big
Exactly. Yeah.
baseball fan,
Yeah, and it's fun to talk about it too, with the community, like shows that are, like the show The Last of Us just came out with season 2 just a few days ago. So a lot of buzz around it, things like that.
and so people want to share that, and that oftentimes will then get them engaged. And does each person have like a profile? We just kind of go like Facebook, where I can then list out, hey, here's all the stuff I'm kind of into. This is me showing you who I am without telling you, kind of.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. You can add a photo, you can add a bio about yourself, and then it shows your friends, your followers, that kind of thing. We emphasize more friends than like follow or following because circles is your circle of friends, obviously. So we put an emphasis on friends. We even have a circle of trust, which is like best friends. So you have your top 8, like MySpace. If you're of a certain age, you might remember MySpace's top 8. So we call it the circle of trust. And so yeah, you get, and there's different like permission privileges, like people in your circle of trust are going to see stuff that maybe just people following you wouldn't, and things like that.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I can't imagine, or I don't know. I don't know how often a new enterprise will try to take on the Yelps of the world, or now potentially the Facebooks of the world. But I don't imagine that they like that very much.
I don't imagine they will when they see us coming. Hopefully we'll come out of nowhere, and or maybe they are. I kind of joke with our team. I feel like Facebook is copying us. Like we just put a background color behind our topic messages, and they just did it like a week after us. And that's not the first time that they've copied. Like I think Snapchat came up with top friends right after we did our circle of trust. I'm like, come on. And so, maybe they came up with it independently. Maybe they're watching us, who knows? But regardless, we have something they don't. Circles is built on positivity. They would have to burn their platform to the ground and start over. So they are married to their drama, and we are not. So we have something they cannot copy.
Amen on that. Based on positivity. What are you saying? There's not a lot of negative, there's negativity on social media sites, John?
Sometimes, yeah, you'd be surprised.
Holy cow. That is really funny. Um, Certainly based on positivity, based on good things, getting people to be active and engaged in competition, knowing that you are going against the incumbent. I think that that would sort of drive competitiveness in me and just maybe put a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Did you know that that was important as a driven person, or did you sort of stumble upon across that, having an enemy or an
Oh, hell
adversary?
yeah. No, we actually we titled our WeFunder campaign, that's the crowdfunding platform. We titled our profile the social recommendations app designed to destroy Yelp. And we thought about it, debated it, and we're like, why pull punches? I mean, that's what we're doing. And small businesses can't stand Yelp. We knew it would resonate. So yeah, having an antagonist like that, it's great. It's a motivator. It fires up our base. And yeah, it's definitely it's a driving force.
It's such a so much human psychology
Tons.
in all of this. Is that interesting to you? Like, it has to be.
Totally, totally. Yeah. I mean, all of it. It's endless. Just the first thing people see, the color of a button, everything is psychology, everything's behavioral.
And you want to use your powers for evil instead of, or for good instead of evil, obviously.
Yeah, no, we are not about evil. Yeah, we actually have a policy against that.
Yeah. Such an interesting thing. All right. So, from the time that you reserved the website name, and there's a technical term for that, but I can't think of it right now,
The
to where we
domain.
are today, how many years has that been?
Yeah, we got the Circles domain like 7 years ago and then didn't do anything for a year or two because we had no idea what it would look like. Is it an app? Is it a website? Wanted it. I didn't want to be like everybody else because then you're going to blend in. You got kind of have to stand out. So it took a while to even come up with the first sketch designs. Kind of hit me one day on a long flight. I was sketching something out, and finally rekindled it. From there, hired a little team, put together a little MVP. It was super basic, but people liked it. Like, oh, this is cool. They thought, well, maybe we can invest a little more. So took a while. It's been a long journey. We really got serious real serious like 4 or 5 years ago. And that's where we just went full force.
Yeah. And now your role as, are you the CEO?
Yes.
What does day to day look like for you?
Well, first thing in the morning, I'm going through all Slack messages from anything I missed overnight because we have some members of our team overseas and here in the United States or even in South America. So we have people everywhere. Some people have different holidays than we have. So we work every day. I worked all day on Christmas. So I'll wake up and I'll go through it and see if there's anything I missed. I'm testing constantly. And so I'm reporting things that are either buggy to me or things that are just confusing. And we kind of refine and tweak. And then we jump into our daily stand-ups every morning. And then we just run those for hours. So we have our whole team in a stand-up. And I'm kind of directing the team. I've gotten to the point now where I'm not an engineer, but I get it. I can speak their language. I understand the tech stack and I get how it all works. And I understand our product inside and out because they've been very transparent with me, which is incredibly helpful. So I help direct. I know their strengths and weaknesses. So I guide along the way. And then lately, these last couple months, now we're pulling in all the outside stuff of like promotional, we want to scale users. And that's a whole different war plan. And I enjoy it. Like I like marketing, but it's a totally different mindset than engineering. So we're working with influencers and we're working with media outlets and advertising, all kinds of stuff that goes along podcasts like here today. So yeah, just getting our word out is now another full-time job on top of the full-time job on top of the full-time job.
If you want something done, give it to a busy person, John.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more? How can they connect with you? And most importantly, how can they get involved with Circles?
Yeah, we'd love to have you check us out. If you're interested in our WeFunder campaign, it's at wefunder.com/circles, and that's SIRCLES. And of course, circles.com is our website, which has information about how you can join our app and become a business on our app if you wanted to subscribe, things like that. And of course, your podcast, George. Listen and give us feedback through our social channels.
Love it. Well, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, show John your appreciation. Share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to circles.com. It's SIRCLES.com. Check out everything they're working on. And wefunder.com. And then go to Circles. Thanks again, John.
Thanks so much, George. Pleasure.
Till next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.